it's good to explain first how I came to this topic and to this lecture. First, I had started with secularization. Then afterwards, I have been looking for resilience, and at the end, I put all together in a more educational way of thinking. So from the cross to education, and education is ever a little cross, or for some people, a huge cross. So we will go to the critic of secularization by Talal Assad. I will say something more afterwards, but now I will just show the direction in which we are going now. Secular is supposed to be based on a mathematical understanding and justification of individual as an autonomous subject. This led to the shift of religion to privacy, and often the understanding of religion only as a belief based exclusively on one's inner experience. Body and habits are neglected. Tradition that has once shaped habits, speech, and bodily responses through life learning is also ignored or even undesirable. From these findings, we attempt to present how a tradition transmitted through socialization can help in dealing with the crisis of humanity. The resilience of individuals and communities depends on the success of learning from experiences of previous generations and creative translation into a real life situation. First, I will ask, what is resilience? What is resilience? If we are, this question is put from the side of educator. If we are to prepare children to become the healthy, productive, contributing adults that will repair our world and lead us into the future, we must set our vision for the long term. For them to thrive over their lifetime, we need to consider their happiness and achievement today, as well as the skills they need to navigate an increasingly complex world tomorrow. We want them to be able to overcome adversity and view challenges as opportunities for growth and innovation. So we can end that we need them to be resilient. We already talk about resilience today, but I will once again say something what I understand, or better, what I found out about resilience that is good for education. Resilience is the capacity to rise above difficult circumstances, the trait that allows us to exist in this less than perfect world while moving forward with optimism and confidence. Resilience is commonly defined as an ability to recover from setbacks, the quality of bouncing back. We heard already today that this word is problematic. This definition should clear something, that in education, when we are looking in forward, we don't educate just for today, but we educate for future. We accepted resilience as a good mindset, because that is mindset that we can educate for the future generations. Resilient people see challenges as opportunities, and that is the mindset, that we don't see only problems, but that we see opportunities for our life. And of course, education is based on the transmission of tradition. The first role in this transmission is family. Families play multiple roles in risk and resilience for children, transmitting genes and traditions, generating stressors and resources, and acting to protect their children and prepare them for future resilience. Families provide physical, emotional, and spiritual needs and protection for children, but also opportunities for children to gain experience and confidence in their own adaptive skills. Given the central and pervasive nature of their roles in the lives of children, both present and future, effective families are vital to child resilience. That are words of Anne Maston. She's professor for children education in Minnesota. And she wrote a lot about resilience and psychology of resilience and education, that we need to understand how to educate. And from this family environment, we should ask, what is this environment or cultural environment, not only in family? And she says, the lives of children are deeply embedded in cultural context, and their development is influenced by the traditions, values, rituals, practices, and beliefs shared by groups of people across families. Culture influences concepts of doing well in life and concomitantly the expectations for individual behavior across the lifespan. Cultures also provide guidance about how to rear a good child and rituals for dealing with many adversities of life. Culture always has been implicitly part of defining resilience, since the criteria for good adaptation always have a culture as well as a historical context. So we can see how she understands this resilience topic in culture and families environment. But how to educate that we can help our children, our youth, to be resilient. So we are going to see from another professor and psychiatrist, Kenneth Gisberg. He wrote that to build resilience, it is helpful to begin by organizing many steps into a few categories. We can organize the steps of resilience into 7 integral, interrelated components that might be called the 7 crucial C's, that are competence, confidence, connection, character, contribution, coping, and control. That we can understand this as virtues, but it's more skills or habits. And this is something that we can go just through and see what is meaning of these 7 C's. First, in competence. Competence is the ability to handle situations effectively. And when we notice what young people are doing right and give them opportunities to develop important skills, they feel competent. We undermine competence when we don't allow young people to recover themselves after a fall. That is something that educator should know. First, he or she has to give opportunities to do something. Competence comes from doing, and then to help to see what somebody can do or it's possible to do. So that is competence. The second is confidence. True confidence, the solid belief in one's own abilities, is rooted in competence. Children gain confidence by demonstrating their competence in real situations. Young people need confidence to be able to navigate the world, think outside the box, and recover from challenges. And we can see that resilience is not just coping the strategies or skills from another, but it's also to feel confidence in oneself and to go outside of this box of culture, environment, and so on. The next is connection. Children with close ties to family, friends, school, and community are more likely to have a solid sense of security that produces strong values and prevents them from seeking destructive alternatives. Connections with other people and communities offer young people the security that allows them to stand on their own and develop creative solutions. A character is also one of these skills, habits. Young people need a clear sense of right and wrong and a commitment to integrity. Children with character enjoy a strong sense of self-worth and confidence. They are more comfortable sticking to their own values and demonstrating a caring attitude toward others. So we can see also here that resilience is not only centered on myself or in ego, but it's also open out to the others. The next one is contribution. Young people who contribute to the well-being of others will receive gratitude rather than condemnation. They will learn that contributing feels good and may therefore more easily turn to others and do so without shame. This powerful lesson when we realize that the world is a better place because we are in it. That is this duty to the educator to give possibility to young people, to children, that they can contribute to real situation in everyday life first, and then to see the options in the future of these youth people. We can think about Galimberti critics of today's youth, that they have no opportunity to see their contribution in this world. Coping is the next one. The best protection against unsafe, worrisome behaviors may be a wide repertoire of positive adaptive coping strategies. Young people who possess a variety of healthy coping strategies will be less likely to turn to dangerous quick fixes when stressed. And then the last one is control. When we realize that we can control the outcomes of our decisions and actions, we are more likely to know that we have the ability to do what it takes to bounce back. Young people who understand privileges and respect are earned through demonstrated responsibility will learn to make wise choices and feel a sense of control. That is these 7 C's. And now we are going to ask why today contemporary education doesn't give enough space to tradition, because in all these 7 C's we can see that is rooted in tradition, in accepting tradition, working with tradition, and living with tradition. First, all cultures and religions develop and transmit ideas, traditions, and practices for living and confronting the vicissitudes of life. These beliefs and practices involve our generations to provide guidance and comfort to members of the group. The functions of culture systems, including religion, in resilience have been neglected to a surprising degree over the years in psychological science, even though faith, culture beliefs, and related practices come up spontaneously in many accounts of resilience. And I will say just a few words about Talal Asad and his critique of secularization. His critique is different from most of critics of thinkers today. He is coming from a field of anthropology and from observing the most Muslims, and because he also come from Pakistan and this region, um, he criticized modern understanding of religion and also of tradition. And secularized world understands this from his own way of looking of this problem. And of course, the modern secularized world is believes that that's the most democratic, the most value, and the most proper way of thinking of human community. And Talal Asad wrote that this came from the desire for universalization and for autonomy that come with, we can say also with words that we heard before, with this instrumental reason or with mathematical reason. At the core of this cluster of concepts is the assumption that the men make their own history. Secularism posits the individual and collective human subject as the creator of the world in which he or she lives. It does so by asserting the history-making human subject agent as a universal category. And I quote him, in modern liberal thinking, belief is the core of religion and therefore the core of that which is private, truly one's own. This goes back to a sharp body-mind distinction that was established in early modernity. I point to the etymology of docile, that is teachable. So I am interested in the docile subject as someone who is teachable and therefore as someone who has the capacity to be taught. A taught body is one to which belief as a conscious supposition of what is the case in the world or as a proposition to which one assents is at best secondary. So for him, the most teachable is body and habits, not just a feeling or inter-believing or something so. And for him is also tradition. At the last, his book is about tradition as translation. Nor do I regard tradition as mere continuity, mere imitation. Certainly, McIntyre is right to argue that the tradition-constituted position is necessary to any concept of moral action. But tradition is also the space in which one experiences a multiplicity of times and confronts a variety of memories. This is what gives disciplines both their authoritativeness and their openness. So we are not closed in this space of resilience, but we are open. And tradition making no further progress is to speak a dead tradition. If we want to survive, every tradition is called to confront new questions and augment its ability to explain and understand. The best is the one providing itself strongest in the process of confronting innovation, which never fails to show up. So we need, by education, tradition, and also skills that open the person the future. But tradition, of course, not just a matter of argument. Indeed, argument is mostly peripheral to it. Tradition is primarily about practice, about learning, the point of practice and performing it properly and making it a part of oneself, something that embraces most concept habitus. Of course, this doesn't mean that the traditional disciplines by which particular virtues are cultivated always produce what they are designed to do, said Talal Asad. Most religions have ceremonies and rituals for all of the major events of human life that can present challenges, including birth, puberty, or coming of age, marriage, and death. These rituals often bring community members together and involve music, prayer, words of wisdom, and other emotionally soothing or supportive activities. These rituals often have evolved over centuries and thus also can provide a sense of collective continuity as well. So resilience requires a wide repertoire of skills to cope with stress and challenges. Here is the bottom line. Life is stressful, so we need to prepare children to handle it effectively. They need to become competent at coping if they are to be resilient. So thank you for your attention.